And we are up and running, theoretically. So, welcome to another Monster Madness. Monster Madness, which I forget to do. Let me change the stream name quick. Monster Madness Banshee. The idea of Monster Madness is I want to be coming up with ideas for one-shots or campaigns around lesser-known monsters. This week, the Banshee. So I am going fairly alphabetical, in case you kind of can't tell. I'm picking out some that I think are fun from the player's handbook. And I was really hoping you could use D&D Beyond again, but the Banshee should be right here, so they don't have all the monsters available yet. So I'm gonna use the book here and quickly, just kind of as an overview, read up what banshees are in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. When night falls, unlucky travelers hear the faint cries of the forlorn dead. This woeful spirit is a banshee, a spiteful creature formed from a spirit of a female elf. Banshees appear in luminous, wispy forms that vaguely recall their mortal features. A banshee's face is wreathed in a wild tangle of hair, its body clad in wispy rags that flutter and stream around it. Banshees are the undead remnants of elves, blessed with great beauty, failed to use their gift to bring joy to the world. Instead, they used their beauty to corrupt and control others. They are sorrow-bound, beauty hoarders, and they don't sleep, eat, need air, drink, that sort of thing. Up and over. So a banshee, you can kind of see some sort of ideas already for a banshee. One that I would really hop onto fast is a banshee. Let me pull this up so that we have our encounter calculator up. So if we're going to play a con game and say you had 4 third level characters, calculate that out. A Banshee is 1100 XP. It'd be a hard monster. Hard. Great end monster for a campaign. Or for a one shot. So let me hop over here. See that you can see that. One shot. Let's go. Where's home? Banshee one shot. So with a Banshee one shot, what I would focus in on a town where there's like major squabble in the town. Major squabble in the town. And you guys been brought in to investigate. The players brought in to investigate. So the squabble in the town is going to be that all these beautiful items are going missing. And they can hear like somebody crying in the night, something like that. And all these items are going missing, so they have to figure out, as the players, okay, what's going on here? And have the townfolk, like one of the big things that I would do is I'd have the townfolk blaming other townfolk. Don't make it like, oh, well, it's this thing off in the woods somewhere. Have the one crazy person, probably who everybody else is gonna blame, at least as one of their options of people who most likely did it, be like, no, it's the crazy lady out in the woods. She only comes out at night. She wears white. Okay. Eventually, your players are going to kind of go and investigate that. And, like, this is... At this point, though, you need a little bit more going on. You're going to have to spend a fair amount of time investigating in town. Maybe even resolving some other disputes that they might have in town to convince people that they weren't stolen, or didn't steal from, break up fights, stuff like that would come from a really small town where everybody thinks that everybody else is responsible. Have them investigate, have them go out into the woods. When they go out into the woods, have them face some sort of wild animal attack. Now, you have them end up finally finding this place. And if they find it during daylight, they're going to find a lot of different things. They're going to find everything, or almost everything. It'd be really funny to have everything except one item that was missing. If they go during the day, they're not going to figure out who did it. They're going to have found everything, but not whom. So then they're going to have to wait for the night. If everything's found and they take it back into town, then play that out with them for a little bit. Like, you're giving it back. Everybody's going to ask who did this, and your players don't know. Like, they literally have no clue who did this because banshees appear at night. In this case. And since they're incorporeal, there's no reason why they should be visible during the daylight. Like, even if they're hanging out in the corner, your players aren't going to be able to notice them. Banshees have some fun abilities too. The horrifying visage and the wail. The wail is the best. In the fact that you take 3d6 damage, which isn't that much but that's on a successful throw. On a failed saving throw, DC 13, not super high, but at third level, you could easily have a couple of your characters for this having to roll a saving throw, or failing a saving throw, where you drop to 0 hit points. I don't think I would necessarily have them make death saving throws at that point. That would be up to you. Figure out how this is going. Maybe you need that sense of tension, especially if a cleric is up. Definitely make them have death saving throws, or anybody who can heal. Make them make death saving throws, and use the horrifying visage, the wail, to make their life hard. Like, this should be about the end of your campaign, or of your one shot. So now they're going to deal with the problem of who's been stealing everything for your players. And so that's kind of, or who's been stealing stuff in the town. So townsfolk blame everyone else for stealing the pretty precious items in the woods. Have a wolf encounter. Find broken down house where all but one piece of the treasure is. Stolen items. If found during the day, Do they wait until the night or take stolen items back to town? If they do take them back, have one person wonder where their stuff is. At night, they go back, fight Banshee, and in the morning, try and do something clever with the one missing stolen item still. If you have time, like this, I would probably say is going to run. You can maybe stretch it out for about 3 hours. So if you're stretching it out for 3 hours, and with running a one shot, I always remember that since it is a one shot, maybe overplan a little bit. So I'd probably even add in like another item or two of like pre-planned encounters that your players are going to have to deal with. Maybe if they go to the crazy person's place, maybe there's some sort of wild animal that she is keeping in there that they have to fend off and figure out, are they going to kill it or are they simply going to incapacitate it because it appears to be her pet, but it really doesn't like other people. That's a good one to add in. They're most likely going to follow up on that lead, especially after the second or third person says so. The players themselves probably will understand it's a red herring, but the town folk, they have to convince the town folk about this anyways. So set that up as an option. And then if there's still time left at the end, definitely go with this last stolen item. Have them go talk to that person again. That person is going to accuse someone of stealing it since it wasn't out with everything else. Or another option, accidentally slip it into your players' bags. Like if they're staying at the inn, they're probably not going to get a room for a one shot, but if they're staying at the inn, just have someone slip it into there and blame them and run them out of town. Let them try and talk their way out of the situation. That'd be pretty good. Interesting. Or alternatively, have them blame someone for it. Have your players are probably going to go investigate, because that person's going to say, like, and make it someone influential, because most likely your players have come out here, player characters, PCs have come out here to investigate and get paid for solving this crime. So if there's someone powerful who might still have like some sway over the money, make them make your players do this, player characters do this. It is a little bit railroady, but it's a one shot, so that's fine in that case, because you're going to let them decide whom to investigate, how to go about their investigation early on otherwise. So then have that person of importance come along there. Have some fun with this. Maybe that person plants it on the other person. Maybe it's like the rich lord's daughter's most prized possession of a necklace, and like when you go over there and investigate, you find out that, oh, she's been hooking up with someone below her station. That could be fun to do. In a campaign, it's a little bit harder to have the Banshees as that big bad guy. But I do think there is a way where the Banshees can really be the focus of a campaign. And this just came to me recently, so you'll have to... I apologize for a confusion that might come as I kind of work through this idea in my head right now. So the idea for the campaign is that Banshees are cursed in many ways because of how they used their ability, their beauty. So make this curse very prevalent. And don't, like in the description, it says that it is female. No, it doesn't say female. Or maybe it does somewhere. Yeah, it doesn't say female. And let's face it, male elves definitely be vain enough. The picture is just female. Go with a plot idea that this Banshee curse is coming from some powerful wizard of some sort. And probably a very ancient wizard. Like, you can go with a really stupid reason for why this wizard has done the curse. The wizard has been slighted. But the wizard has been slighted, so every single elf that dies is basically coming back as a banshee. And that's kind of terrifying. And that's kind of the big thing for this campaign is you're going to have and it's probably not going to be an exceedingly long campaign, but it's going to have a nice story arc and feel to it, I think. So you have slighted elf who creates Banshee curse a long time ago. Rumors of lost elf city that is all banshees. Players don't know this. Let me do this correctly. PCs don't know this. They think it's just lost. So, I mean, you have a couple different options here on how you could take it. The one would be that your players now have to spend time discovering this, but I like the idea that recently elves have been becoming banshees again. Dun dun dun. PCs have to deal with some of these banshees and try and find out how to stop the curse. Especially works well if one of your players is an elf. If they're an elf, they're going to be like, I don't want to turn into a banshee when I die and then have you kill me again. So, the players then research, figure this out, like kind of track down where this is coming from, and maybe how it worked back in the history is that the elves realized that there was this cursed area around this elvish city. Anybody who dies in that area becomes a banshee. And our slighted elf wizard, who is still living in that area, as he's spent more time there, the area size of his influence has increased further and further and further. And so the elves that had all moved away, and it doesn't have to be increasing that much further, but it just increases over time. So the elves that have moved away, now it's been several generations, they're starting to move back closer to that area. So only the elves at the fringe of this area are becoming banshees. Now the players don't know that, but if this continues to grow and increase, then okay, eventually the whole world is going to be turning into banshees, at least all the elven world. So now your PCs are having to deal with this. They have to fight off banshees, they have to head into that area. And I would look through the monster manual and kind of find monsters that really love treasure and cool things. Not dragons. I think this would kind of be a dragon-free zone, because you could create a lich who was the wizard of immense power, and the dragons would probably leave him alone. They would know they could beat him, but as long as he's not bugging them, it's kind of not their problem. They're like, we can go somewhere else to get our treasure. Find those greedy types of creatures that are in there trying to pillage, scavenge, just run in and out, do fast missions that your players are then going to have to deal with. So as they work their way in closer, and they've spent time researching and kind of found out about this lost city, and maybe they put two and two together now of that hadn't been done in generations, of like, oh, these white wisps just came and tore through the city, and everyone, like, people who came back to the city from some sort of travel, they saw all these white wisps and all these ghosts around, but make it seem like almost a fog in the air, a haze in the air, because there should be so flipping many of these Banshee in the city. So as your players kind of find out where it is, figure out like, oh, this seems to be an epicenter of banshees, they can work their way into that area. And as your players come across things, their PCs will fight these greedy creatures, goblins, hobgoblins, bugbears, creatures that are going to be smart enough to do these hit and run little missions in and out, and might even realize like, oh, we don't turn into banshees, so as long as we can stay hidden, stay out of sight, like have our own protection during the night, that we can live in this area. And so as your players get closer and closer, they're going to come eventually to this lost city. And this lost city at nighttime should be absolutely terrifying. So if we go back to our calculator, 4 players, let's say you have 4, they're at 20th level, they can handle that. Except they can't handle this. I mean, that is 50,800. This is 1.1 million. That's adjusted to 4 1.4 million for the adjusted difficulty rating. This should be nigh impossible for them. They can maybe fight areas at a time, and as long as they're only having to deal with, say, 10 at a time, it's still a medium difficulty. It's still tricky for them, and there's a chance that with 10 of them wailing at you, 40 rolls, you could easily have a couple of them go down just off of bad rolls because of the whale. So, this is a terrifying city to go to. So they have to figure out how to get through the city to where the lich is during the day. And that's not going to be easy because the lich should be probably built in underneath the city now in a sewer system that was then turned into caves and catacombs that he now rules with some creatures that he controls, such as maybe minotaurs or something like that. Minotaurs are always fun. Let's see if we have minotaurs in here. Let's see. If I were a minotaur, I'd be on page 8. Nope. I'd be on page 10. Actually 11. 10. I should have stayed with it. If they even have it on here. Minotaur. Minotaurs are only level 3 challenges, but make them stronger, bigger, faster Minotaurs. There's no reason not to. Find something that has probably a couple different attacks that it can do on a turn. They can reckless attack. And just have fun with that. Make this a very tough final dungeon to get to this guy. Now, don't make it so tough that they've spent everything, because I think if I hop back here, a lich is a 21 challenge rating, 33,000 XP. So 4 players, 20th level. It's a medium difficulty. We add in a few minotaurs, say 4. I think they're 300. It's deadly-ish. At 20th level, your players are going to be able to take down a minotaur in 3 hits, 4 hits. Especially if you have a barbarian or something like that. But then they're still having to deal with a lich. Just maybe have minotaurs or even banshees trickle in once in a while during this boss fight, so your players can't just focus fire on the lich. And make the lich use his powers really well. You have plenty of legendary resistance, you have spell slots, you have power word kill that you probably should do at some point in time, because eventually your players are going to kill the lich, most likely. They might lose, but make it a good fight. The lich doesn't have a ton of hit points, good armor class, solid on the saving throws, which is going to be the big thing right there. So use the powerful spells that they have. Plane shift, Finger of Death, 7d8 plus 30, really high, especially if you can then bring it back. Dominate monster, not going to do you much good. Power word stun, that'd be great. Stun them in a cloud kill sphere. 5d8 poison damage. Auto fail if you're stunned. That's rough. Do things like that for your characters and for your players. Make it a challenge. And then once they kill the Lich, and the dungeon probably should take them a couple of days. Let them rest, potentially, but before they get to the Lich, obviously you have to expend a few resources because otherwise it's going to be too easy. Have them expend a few resources, allow them to rest, but maybe rest, get everything back, but still wake up really early in the morning and have to face a couple 3 Banshees that showed up during the middle of the night. They don't really know what time it is. They're probably going to go to bed fairly early if you make it tough enough in the dungeon for them. And then don't make it super obvious what the phylactery is until they start to think about it and maybe put some things together. Maybe have multiple different legends that they know about. Excuse me, I think I have to sneeze. Yep, I did. About this elf who lost his love. Definitely write out a fairy tale, a very vague fairy tale. Don't put any locations, anything like that in it, but write out the fairy tale of this elf who wanted to give his heart to his love and was rejected, and he gave her something something impressive, something powerful that kind of shows that this elf who was trying to give out his love had power. Maybe in the story it's a tier of a star. He called down a star to earth, and the star heard of his plight and was so sad, cried a single teardrop into a vial. And so there's going to be tons of treasure, tons of crap around this Lich, because that's what Banshees do. They hoard this stuff. And since the Lich has power over them, they hoard it all to him. And in there, predominantly placed, but as predominantly placed as a few other things, probably including these skeletal remains of... Well, I guess Banshee would mean that there are no more remains left. So, even something like a trapped Banshee of some sort, some way. I mean, this Lich has had a long time. He could trap his true love down there with him. And next to that, or even hanging down from the middle of wherever he's trapped, so it kind of sits as she just floats there, since she's probably been stuck there for hundreds of years. It floats as a necklace for her, and your players are going to be like, oh, we remember hearing about this, this fairy tale is real, this is what happened. And then they have to destroy it, because a Lich, rejuvenation, 1d10 days, becomes active again. So your players are going to have to deal with that. Those are nice numbers. So enjoy doing stuff like that. And use everything, these legendary actions. My guess is they even have a Lich's Lair actions that you can add in. And you don't have to go all the way to 20. You could have it simply be a less powerful Lich. Fine, probably the Necromancer stat block. Let's see if that's in there. You got Necromancer, buddy. If we go up a page, do you have Necromancer? Do you even know how to necromancer? They don't. But find something that's like a 15th level character. I mean, even just using the Mummy Lord stat block and just swap out the spells for the most part to the maybe a little bit more lich-like, and use that depending on how long you want this to take. So that is my idea for a Banshee campaign. You will notice that only some of the time do I actually make the character itself as the big bad guy. The angel focused campaign, the angel is actually your quest giver and the good guy, potentially the bad guy if your players screw up. In Azure, there is a big bad Azure who takes the stats of whatever level of red dragon you need it to. Banshees, instead of making a big bad Banshee, went with a lich that's cursed all the elves in the area. But it's still always going to be focused on that one creature. The angel one is probably the least focused on the angel, but it's the quest giver and the one who has the ability to smite and wipe out that area of land. It is really about appeasing that angel. So that is going to wrap up. This is taking just over half an hour. I feel like that's good length. I feel like it's a couple good ideas for a campaign and for a one-shot. So with that, I have been Petter from Nerdologists.com. Check out our website and let me know what monsters you might want to see a campaign created about. With that,